said, hey, do you see a mountain lion? I said, yeah. I'm like, no. He said, well, we're from your front yard, right over in the Toll residence, which is exactly around the yeah, he said about 8 o'clock last night. So now we are feeding the deer, we're feeding the mountain lions, which is what I intend. Just deer. I had my neighborhood. Now back down to the that's an old.
When I had my knees replaced, I could go in and see it.
It's like, oh yeah, that's for the stay calm. Yeah, that's right. Stay calm. It makes sense when it's reading it out in a magazine.
Or I'm sitting too much during the day.
Oh, Trinidad. Yeah, right.
It's not good. And then you come home and sit at home.
I know.
It's supposed to be very calm.
For pets. I know, that's right.
There's nothing at all.
I know. Just so you get on the green. You don't have it.
Doesn't know.
Gosh. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to drink.
But that's not the same. They keep you around. So much. What can we do?
She was able to get her couch running.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, November 19th, and this is a regular meeting of the City Council for the City of Trinidad. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? May I remind you to remove your hats? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is roll call.
DeBono.
Here.
Shu.
Here.
Thurman.
Here.
Trahell.
Here.
Ogletree. Here. Williamson.
Here.
Griego.
Here. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Does anybody want to make any changes to the agenda? Okay, I need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Ogletree. Yes. Shu.
Yes.
Thurman.
Yes.
DeBono.
Yes.
Trahell.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 3, policy items and staff reports. There's 2 items under this heading. Item 3A is Mr. Joe Richards, who is the Los Animas County Emergency Manager. Thank you, Mr. Richards, for coming this evening.
Madam Mayor, council members, good evening. Good to see you all. I wanted to get on first, so I hear there's a reputation of people throwing stuff here, so I want to make sure I missed the carnage. I just want to take a few minutes tonight to thank you all for this invitation. And honestly, I want to start commending the City of Trinidad, your fire department, your police department, your ambulance district, which I am on the board of, for all the help we've given us setting up the emergency management programs for the county. I've only been at this thing about 1 3/4 years, part-time, and we are in a desperate need of a lot of things. But a lot of good things are happening. We're starting a program, we're setting up shelters all across the county. We've had people volunteer shelters in the past, but no organized fashion. I think the Trinidad Community Center is the only one that's kind of up and running and very well organized. I just met with the Trinidad School District, and they've allowed us to use the school, and we've had no transportation here, so we have an MOU now in place where we can use the school as a backup for a shelter, and the school buses for emergency the transportation for everybody from nursing homes or anybody that's stranded that needs to get out. We're setting up those things. But we're setting up MOUs for this so that we understand what's expected of them, what's expected from the county. So that's just one shelter. We're working all the way across. We're going to start out in the west and we're going all the way east to Kim. Last snowstorm we had in May, it took me about 3 or 4 hours to get a shelter set up in Kim for the people who were stranded out east. Well, now it took about 3 or 4 minutes. So we're trying to pick up the pace so people can understand what's going on. We're working with the Red Cross to get volunteers. I'm working with Trinidad State College with the Red Cross. They've already have 4 volunteers trained and ready to go. We're working on a few more to get that going. I spoke with the Red Cross today to get that training done. Before, we had to ask for people from Pueblo or Colorado Springs to come down and help. If we had a dire emergency, we needed professional help. So we're working on all those kind of things. Silly things like traffic. In this last snowstorm, I met with the manager of Walmart, and I said, what happens down here, these emergencies? He said, oh my goodness, he said, I can't stand it. Nobody helps us. So I said, well, we're going to help you now. So what happened was, as soon as his lot got about 2/3 full, he called me, and I made arrangements with my counterpart in Pueblo, and we stopped the traffic in Pueblo. And we turned it around. They got through, went to Walsenburg. They don't have any facilities there either. Turn around, send them back to Pueblo. So we had a manageable situation. It was still chaotic, as events like this are, but they got about 500 trucks stopped in Pueblo that would have been here. So it just puts a strain on all of our resources here too, and do that. So like out in Kim, they ran out of food about the 3rd day. So we had the National Guard take a load of food out to them, so they had food for the people in the shelter. So these are all the kinds of things we're working on. We're trying to solidify them. So I'll be working with all of you, with all the people across the county, setting up MOUs. We have this reasonableness of understanding, so we know what's expected of each other and how we can help each other. Transportation is a good thing. We're setting up. I just talked to the chief. We're trying to get iPause set up, which is Amber Alerts, probably an easier way to do it. And what that does for us, it gives us a reach for the whole community, plus people coming into the community. We can put a broadcast out there saying, hey, there's a snowstorm, all the state highways are shut down. Do not come here, do not go on the county roads, because they're worse than the state roads. And we can put that out, and we can keep that broadcast up 6 to 8 hours. So if new people come in, they're going to get that hit on their phone. And we can localize it to different areas. We have the reverse 911, which is excellent. We're pushing that, and we're preaching the gospel of RAVE and the smart 911. But historically, only 10 or 15% of the people in a community sign up for it. So that leaves a big gap to do this. So iPulse will fill that gap. The nice thing about the reverse 911 is that you can put your personal information there. So if you have a health condition or something like that, and you call 911, all that information comes up on the screen, and the techs know how to take care of it. It can bring services to you. The other thing we're working on too is a countywide CWPP, a Colorado Wildfire Protection Plan. We just got a $200,000 grant, just short of $200,000. I just talked to the state yesterday. They're going to fund the whole thing. We have no matching funds, so it's just a real blessing for that. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to have town hall meetings all across the county. And a big one here in Trinidad, because this is kind of the hub of civilization here. So we're going to get that and have all you involved in it. We're going to, because how you treat wildfire on the prairie and in the urban area and in the mountains is different each time. So we have to set up a plan to do that, and we want to make it a working plan so that we can, have, great reception. How we get this, and what that does open up for us is about $40 million in grant money, so we can start to do that. I was the building official in Arapahoe County when the Marshall Fire went through in Boulder, and my counterpart in Superior called me and says, Joe, I need 20 inspectors tomorrow. He says that we're 6 hours, 1,100 homes. He called me the next morning. He says, don't bother. They're all burned to the ground. They lost life. 1,000 pets died, and just like that. And this is a pretty urbanized area. So it can happen here in Trinidad. So it's something we need to be noticed about. So I just wanted to throw a few things out there like that to let you know what we're working on and how we're going to get there. I have a wonderful job. However, it's part-time, and I have absolutely no authority, but all responsibility. So I need your help. The only way I can be successful and this program can be successful is people like Chief Baccarat back there and Bob Just and others that step up and hold me up and listen to what I have to say and get things done. So these are really important things for us to be talking about. So I just wanted to introduce myself to you, get your ideas. If you have any questions, please call me, and we're going to try to do this as a community. And I was scared to death when I came back here. I worked up in Denver for several years when I was a county building inspector, and we went part-time. And so I had to go, I had to get a better job, so I started in Castle Rock, and I got a job offer in Arapahoe County, and I was a building official there. But the politics sometimes, I came from the private sector, so I was like a bull in a china shop. Well, you have to have a committee for that, you have to vote on that, we have to wait on that, and it has to be reviewed by this committee. And so I struggle with that. So I'm much better at it now, but I still struggle a little bit with it. But I need the help of the community, I need the help of your staff and everybody else to help in this endeavor, especially with the community, so get them all involved. But there's a tremendous positive push for this, so I'm really excited about that. So with that, I just want to know if you have any questions for me, and I won't take up a whole lot of your time.
I just had a comment. First of all, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Okay.
I had the pleasure of going through Hurricane Helene in South Carolina when I was visiting my family, and all I wanted to say was what was so critically off there was information. You had no information. And when you have information, you can get through just about anything. And so the fact that you're setting up these ways to communicate with people and tell them, here's where you can go to get food, here's where you can go to be safe, that is priceless. And thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's what the iPulse comes in. We had a power outage a few months ago out west for, it was a heavy storm. It was, I won't say April or May. And a lot of power, about 3,000 people without power. And we did the code red, the reverse 911, and people were jumping up and down. Thank you so much. We knew what was going on. They had an expectation of time. If we didn't know, we say we don't know. At least we have all the information we have. So very critical to that. We're working on getting more active on Facebook and everything else. So it's really good. So.
Anyone else have any questions?
I just wanted to say thank you, Joe. I spoke to you on the radio, or actually at the radio station, and
Yes.
via phone conversation. And thank you for everything you do for emergency management. It was called civil defense back in the day.
Yeah.
And I just had a question. How do you leverage data and analytics to inform emergency management decisions?
In what capacity? Just to get the word out, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Besides radio.
It's funny you say that. Radio is one tool, and we're working to set up ham radio operators across the county to get them involved with the tool. And I just threw it out there, and people are banging on the door. They want to do this. There is Pueblo has an organized ham radio operator system. So if all systems went down, we can still get the message out and get information to not only critical services, but to the individuals in the neighborhoods. So we are working on that. A lot to do, and there's everything has to be done. Unfortunately, I wish we were further along in the process than we are. But it's really critical we get this thing going. The city is with FirstNet. We just made a deal with the county and the sheriff's department to be on FirstNet, which is the cell phone service that if we had an emergency and the cell towers were busy and your phones would go through, you would have priority. So and they can be used as radios too. So if you're in California and doing something there and you can't get back, you can still hear the radio transmissions on the phone. So there's all these technological things we're trying to do, and it's not really expensive. It's actually cheaper per month. That's how I sold the county, because they said no. But now we have the whole county doing the same thing the same way, and that helps save lives, and it makes us more efficient. So we've got a lot of work to do, but I just want you to know that we're digging on it. We're going to make this thing. Just because I had somebody come up to me, they're Arapahoe County, 2,500 employees. It's just a big organization. They have money troubles just like we do. Just because we're not the wealthiest community doesn't mean we can't do it well. So we have a lot of talent here, we have a lot of expertise, and we have a lot of dedication and a lot of love for our community. So with that, And I didn't move up there, I stayed here. And I lost, just an anecdote for you, I lost 34 pounds during COVID because I had to work from home and my wife said, get away from the refrigerator. So, it was good. So, any other questions before I go? I don't want to take a whole lot of your time, I know you're busy.
Thank you.
God bless you, thank you.
Mr. Richards, thank you. Item 3B, Historic Main Street Board Update, and I see Krista Russell in the audience.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. Good to see everybody. Just wanted to do a few updates from our talk in May when we were talking about what we've learned from the national conference and what we're doing with Main Street. So all good news. We'll start with that, and that way everyone's kind of prepared going in. We do like to keep these quarterly, but as you know, I've been pretty busy opening a restaurant. Thank you very much for everyone who stopped by. So we're a little late, but we are here. I would like to start by saying thank you very much for the hire of our new Director for Creative District and Main Street. Veronica Mays, if you have not met her, is an incredible addition. So to everyone on the staff who took all the time to interview everyone that was there for that position, we are thrilled to have someone like Veronica on staff. She's jumped in with both feet, hit the ground running, and been such a huge part of us getting our quarterly reports done, what we're trying to do for the holidays, and of course, moving toward accreditation. As a reminder, just what we work under as Main Street, we have 4 large pillars that everything that we do stands under. Economic vitality, organization, design, and promotion. So those are the things that we talk about quite a bit. They're big buzzwords and really attractive ones that we use a lot, but everything falls under those umbrellas. What we talked about in May when we were here, just again as a reminder, we are working toward national accreditation with Main Street. And the reason for that is to be more than just an affiliate, which is what we are currently, to regain our accreditation and to have access to national training, national funds, national programs. All of those things are really lovely and helps take the burden off of the city when it comes to what our board does. As a reminder, Main Street is more than just a board of volunteers, and Trinidad is a designation, much like our creative district, and those things help to show the work and the goals that we have when it comes to historic preservation and how we're designing downtown, the things that fall under some of those pillars. I want to say a huge thank you for the city's buy-in on the projects that the Main Street Board has worked on and has set forth as what we are doing for 2024 and 25. To have help today from the city moving incredibly important pieces of the Fox Archive back to the Fox was a huge moment for what we're doing historically. It was a huge moment for getting things back to that building, and we had city staffers that helped us carry things up the stairs and move them to the building, and I could not be more grateful because I could not do it myself. So thank you to anyone that was a part of that conversation, how we moved those archives, saving the really important historic things. I'm incredibly grateful. The 2 original stage tables that were there on the stage that held props are now back in the building, and I get a little misty-eyed about it because it really is important for the work that we're doing with that building. Along the lines of promotion and also economic development, economic vitality, we found out today that the 2025 State of Colorado Farmers Market Conference will be held in Trinidad this year. So that is a huge piece. I am thrilled. As also the chair of the Farmers Market Board, we've been working on this for a couple of years, and that will be March 7th through the 9th. It will be held at Space to Create, and we'll be highlighting the agricultural tier that is a part of Trinidad. This is huge to get to talk about our local farms, doing a farm-to-table dinner. We will have dignitaries in from the state that will talk about changes to the farmers market programs, which include SNAP, our senior bucks. This all comes back as a huge thank you to you as well, because the farmers market went before the LTAB board and asked for help this year in the form of grants, and we were given those. And so we were able to provide our senior programs, our SNAP benefits, getting some of our promotional items in 2 languages. These are things we're working on as the farmers market, which encompasses Main Street with this conference. So thank you very much. I know that a lot of people ask you for things, and I don't know if you always understand those seeds that are planted come to fruition, and so I hope that I can provide that for you today. Other things that we've worked on, we have a working plan in progress. Department of Local Affairs has a plan pickaxe. So that's basically what we need to get done and how we get it done. And we've been working on those things throughout the last few months. The things that we needed for accreditation were only 3 things. 1, was a staff member, which we have in Veronica, so thank you very much for that. A website, which we've spoken to our new communications director, Victoria, about. She's helping us put that together. And then I needed a line item on a budget somewhere to show that we were sustaining who we were. We have spoken and will continue to speak with the LTAB board. In their budgeting, we can be added as a line item budget there as well. They have not agreed to do anything. This is still a conversation, but in working with Creative District and LTAB, if we can show that we can sustainably keep ourselves afloat, we meet that accreditation requirement. And we do little things right now, which include the downtown holiday decor, the storefront decor. We have prizes for that, which equals about $700. With no budget, every time we need something, we have to come to you and ask, which feels annoying for you and for me. You must get tired of people just asking you for things. So what we're trying to do is show that we're sustainable financially to then get to the next level of not having to ask the city for money at all. When I became chair of this board, I promised that I would figure out a way to stop asking the city for money. And I think that we are getting to that point. And I think that helps a lot of other people who do need the money. So that's where we are headed with that. So we're meeting all of our requirements. We should be accredited by the new year, and that's huge. Things that we are working on currently include Art Alley A. We've spoken with Nick Mason a few times about our grant that we have through DOLA and what that looks like and how we can help. So those things are happening. We have to have a work plan together by the end of January for DOLA, and then our grant has to be spent by the end of June. Nick is aware of those things. We've talked about all that stuff. So that's all moving along beautifully. We dream as the Main Street Board to make Trinidad the holiday mecca of the entire area. That's our plan eventually. We want to have grants for historic decorations downtown. We want to have Christmas markets. We want people singing. We want people drinking mulled wine. We want all of those things. That's such a draw for other towns. We have the most incredibly beautiful downtown, and I think done well, we could take the holidays and make it a destination for who we are in Trinidad. We are still working on that, obviously, because it's already November and we're not there yet. So it will be something that we look at again in 2025. I wanted to provide a few statistics from Gail Langley, who says hello, Mr. Mike. She said to make sure I said hello.
Tell her hi.
Okay. We are the liaison with DOLA in a lot of these statistics that I'm going to be providing, but I want to show the value that our Main Street provides, the Main Street designation provides, and how we're supporting some of these things. From the beginning of 2023 to third quarter of 2024, 52 new businesses have opened in our town, which is a huge number. That's incredible. I actually think it's a few more, but we've had some staff changes, so I couldn't swear to those numbers, but I think we've had actually a few more than that. That comes to about 270 jobs in our town, which is huge. When it comes to building improvements between Main Street, DOLA, that's 25 of our buildings in our downtown that have been affected in this last year between 2023 and where we are in 2024. And I think that's a really incredible number as well. Public and private partnership investments equal $76 million in that time period. And your Main Street Board, myself included, have put in 506 volunteer hours in the last year and 3 quarters. Are there any questions about anything that I have covered so far? Is there anything we need to update on? Thank you very much for your time. I will be a bit more timely with my updates in the new year as we get to some of these new things, the way that our alley's coming together. As you know, this year in 2023, myself and 2 staff members went to the national conference, and that was only because the city agreed to that and helped us with that. That has been a huge part in what we are doing in 2024 and then into 2025. So thank you again for your buy-in, for your support, and for letting Main Street be a part of the conversation.
Thank you.
So I think the athletes go to you versus, I wish I could can your enthusiasm and spread it around. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much.
Really good.
Item 4, petitions or communications, oral or written. If anybody would like to speak, you have 5 minutes to speak. Mr. Downs is our official timekeeper. He's got his brand new Timex there.
It takes a licking and
He will give you a warning when there's 1 minute left, so you can wrap up your presentation. Dan Rossetti, Police Chief.
Evening, Mayor Council. A couple months ago, might even been a few months ago, I came asking about police chief, why a police chief hasn't been hired. Actually, a couple council asked city manager what's going on. And if you remember right, city manager at one of the meetings said that it's in-house, should be done in-house. So in-house, it should really be done by HR and the city manager, and I don't understand why it hasn't been done yet. 11 months. HR got a $4.65 raise in June. Interim city manager got a $4.41 raise in August. The wages is $100 an hour, and they can't come up with even a job description for a city manager, or for a police chief. That's pretty bad. People downtown are wondering what's the delay and why won't anybody answer questions. So hopefully next meeting I get an answer to this question. Let's just go on with some other questions here. So of course, Central Park, we're at day 95, day not completed. We're up to $71,250 in liquidated damages. And you're gonna say, you know, this project was done because of handicap. Just to let y'all know, there's not a legal handicap park installed over there as of this time. $2 million and you can't even park legally if you're handicapped. Disgusting. Next, the Oslo property. I didn't know this, but I did some research, and biking and hiking brings in $1.7 billion to Colorado a year. It's a lot of money. But I did know hunting brings in $3.25 billion a year. So what's the deal at Wormhole Trail and Oslo property with hunting? It's an outdoor recreation. I hope you don't discriminate against hunters. As of right now, it's open. It's city property. If you want to go hunting, pretty much, there's no rules. So, if nothing else, I recommend bikers and hikers wear fluorescent orange during hunt season. Mr. Trujillo, at the last work session, you tabled about small purchases by city manager. Was wondering why you did that and if you're going to bring it back on the table, because I think something needs to be done. Let's see. And last but least, I hope my questions get answered from last meeting that I asked. I've never got an answer from any question that I've asked, so I hope they get answered tonight. If not, I guess social media will be the next step. And last but least, Mr. Downs, I want to congratulate you on your new contract. I'm sure it's for more money because the mayor was a little interested about if it was going to hit this year's budget, which I understand. If he gets a raise, no big deal. But one thing, if somebody applies for a position inside the city that has qualifications, they should at least get an interview for the position, which I know someone was not even got an interview for the job. So that's pretty bad when the city does that.
1 minute.
I'm done. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Mr. Peters, Public Safety.
Hi everyone, hopefully you're all doing good. I'm Tim Peters, just for the record. You know, I've been here 22 years. I love this town. I got all kinds of friends, our businesses, our kids grew up here and everything. So, you know, I'm for this town. We got a lot of good things going on, but there's some bad things too. And the Santa Fe Trail, Exit 11 issue is a real problem. Since I've seen you guys last, I've learned everything I could about the grant, the process of the grant, the stages of the grant, And I've learned a lot. I think I almost know as much as you guys probably do. I don't know if you guys have been briefed on it recently. Anybody know what side of the road the trail's gonna be on? How many private properties are you gonna have to acquisition down one side or the other? If the trail is separate from the road, 10 feet. So you're going up and you're jumping into people's property, okay? Learned that, great minds think alike. Everything that I've told you since I came out, you guys have ripped. That's why you did the grant, because you know it's dangerous. The city knows it's dangerous. They've known it for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. The way I'm looking at it right now is, this is a Crystal Palace. I'm calling this trail just Crystal Palace, $2 million Crystal Palace. Right now, we're, 1 year in, and the plans, you haven't even seen the plans. They say, I heard something that they're 50% done. So we're gonna take 2 years to get the plan before we go into any request for proposals and stuff. Then I've read recently that we've got all the environmental, historic, wetland issues to go along with the land acquisitions, right? We're looking at 3 years. 3 years before maybe we start it. Let's just say 3 years before we finish it, okay? And I'm excited about it. It's gonna be a Crystal Palace. It's gonna be the best bike trail I've ever seen. But it's not connected to the road. The road, which I'm showing you pictures, I think you all look, you know it. This grant, this $2 million is not connected to the road. The road is, I was being nice there about what I was gonna say. It's horrible, horrible condition. Maybe in 1955 it was compliant. Now, it's a mess. It's non-compliant, it's dangerous. This is not going away. I'm not gonna go away, you guys. This is gonna be my hobby, okay? Where am I at, Russ?
2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining.
Cool. I gotta thank you guys for going through the grant process and getting that rolling. That was good thinking. Okay. A lot of times I get tired of people complaining and whining. Everybody comes with problems, right? So the other day I was thinking, you know what, I'm a contractor. Put a little pencil to it. I think it took about an hour and I made a few phone calls. And I talked to the Phil over there at the county. You know, they just did, you know the nicest road in our town right now is the road to the dump. Okay, so I called Phil and I said, Phil, what's it cost to pave a mile of road? And he said, oh, it costs us like basically $200,000, a little under $200,000. I said, okay, and I told him, you know, what I was thinking of and what would it cost there. So according to Phil, you know, they're paying for it right now, so they know what the costs are. That was like basically $200,000 to do a mile. 1 month, $200,000. All right. I kind of threw a little budget together. I just threw $250 on it because it's a little bit bigger. We've talked to a solution a little bit with Mike. I've talked to the best, smartest dirt guys around, Wade, Jamborelli.
1 minute, sorry.
1 minute?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you extend the road 5 feet on each side with 6 inches of road base, plane it out right, compact it, do all that stuff, throw some geo-netting in there, whatever. You can add on some, that was $35,000. I talked to Leone the other day, I just did the math. Boom, Leone, $35,000. Some geofabric, $5 grand. Labor, throw 25, machines 15, miscellaneous 10,000, that's $9,000. You add the $250 to pave the thing, and you're at $340,000. And we get the whole thing paved with 2 different roads. We don't need a Crystal Palace. Nobody can afford Crystal Palaces. We need a safe place from point A to point B for riders, walkers, the future, everything. So I'm probably out of time. One question, I know you guys don't want to hear about money. How much is an accident going to cost? Somebody gets hurt, hit, how much is that accident going to cost the city? So, trying to give you guys options. All right, you guys, thank you very much. Have a good night.
This next speaker is Ian Roop. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, I don't want to speak.
Pardon?
I don't want to speak.
You don't want to speak?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Z. Gray?
Oh, I'm just here watching.
Okay, so you don't have to sign in if you don't.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Better safe than
First time
sorry.
here.
All righty. You'll know for the next time. All righty. Item 5, council reports. Mr. Williamson, do you have any council reports?
Mayor, at this point, I have a meeting coming up with the South Central Council of Government Thursday, and at this point, I'll have a report, so next meeting.
All right. Mr. Thurman?
Space and Parade tomorrow, Parks and Rec at 6 o'clock. I encourage you guys to go. I'm sure they're gonna be talking about skate parks is a top issue, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about pickleball at some point during the week. So I would come down to the Commons tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Space and Parade. Parks and Rec,
What time?
6 o'clock.
Tomorrow night?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Mr. Trio?
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Shu?
I don't have anything. I got an ARPA meeting coming up in December. That'll be the final deal for our rate increases and stuff, or decrease, whatever we're gonna do with that.
Okay. When is it?
December the 8th or 7th, somewhere around there.
So
It's
at
that
the end
Thursday.
of December, you'll have more information.
Well, after the meeting, I'll
Okay.
have everything, it'll be complete. That, it's pretty much done now. It's just a final
Okay.
vote.
Thank you. Mr. DeBono?
The only thing I have to say is that the Veterans Luncheon was very well attended last Monday across the street at Sebastiani Gym. You were there, I was there, Frank was there, and everybody had a good time.
It's very nice. Ms. Aaron?
The Arts and Culture Advisory Commission met on Thursday, and since the primary goal of that group is to buy public art and place it around Trinidad for the benefit of Trinidadians and tourists, they have decided, until we figured out what sort of funding might be available through the LTAB money, that they're going to just meet every other month, because otherwise there's really nothing for them to do. They do have a project in the works that is the baseball glove that's going to go out at the field. We got a report from the gentleman who's completing that, and so that will be done in the spring.
Nice. Looking forward to it. I don't have much, but I also went to the Veterans Day luncheon that's put on by the Veterans Council. It was very nice. A lot of people in our community have served in the military, and it was nice to honor them. I also, very refreshing, got several calls actually thanking and commending the city for the snow removal during that horrendous snowstorm we had a week or so ago. I got a call from the chief executive officer of the hospital, and she said it was exceptional what the crews did for the hospital to keep the emergency lanes open and ambulance bays open and accessible. And also, you know, where I think somebody said there is a silver lining to every cloud. So apparently this storm was something special, because Fox News has some young men that go out and they're storm chasers. So usually they go to the southern part of the country, chase hurricanes and tornadoes. Well, they heard about our snowstorm and they came, and they started televising Trinidad live, and it was rebroadcast on Fox News. And the accolades these young men made on behalf of this community, my favorite comment made was, this is a Hallmark community. They were going down Main Street. So it just so happened they were going around town and digging people out, people that had problems, or they couldn't shovel, elderly people that couldn't shovel their snow. They were just riding around town seeing if somebody needed help, so they were in my area and I was watching them on YouTube. I said, come by, I want to thank you, and they did, and they were very gracious. So that was very, that was really nice to see the people that have seen me and just say, oh, by the way, the city did a beautiful job with the streets, and the amount of snow we got, that was, so I commend your staff, Mr. Valentine. You know, in years past, I've always gotten complaints, but this year I got nothing but compliments, and it's very refreshing. So thank you. That, and make sure,
I'll pass that along to
please do. Please do,
Men and
and
women
it's
that
not
did the
just
work.
me, it's community members that noticed it. Okay, item 6, consent agenda approval. Item 6A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of November 6th, 2024, and special meeting minutes of November 12th, 2024. Item 6B, approval of bills totaling $993,446.06, and item 6C, approval of payroll November 9th through November 22nd of 2024. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So
So moved. Second?
Call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ogletree.
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Griego.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
She signified aye by raising her hand. You're right.
990, you know, that's, it takes, I try to do it in one breath. Item 7A, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance establishing and implementing a program to charge mitigation rates for the deployment of emergency and non-emergency services by the Trinidad Fire Department for services rendered by the department. The hearing is now.
Mayor, council members,
Chief Backrack, thank you.
you're welcome. I understand there's some questions. So what can I help with?
I have a lot of questions, and I will try to be as brief as possible.
No, that's fine.
My first response to this was that it felt inappropriate to place the burden of mitigation costs on people who are involved in accidents
Okay.
or who have medical emergencies that are not minimal kinds of things. It seems like that's what public safety is about, and that's what taxes are for. And I feel like if we can't afford to pay for the equipment that we need, and we can't afford to pay wages or whatever it is that's the issue, I think it should be a broader question to this community about paying for that. I read a lot of things online about the company that the fire department intends to enter into this agreement with, and there were a lot of questions about whether it was a company on the up and up. There were questions about bills that people were sent that they couldn't get good answers to. There's not a lot of clarity in what I read in this contract about how it's determined who gets a bill, whether it's just based on whether or not they have insurance or whether the insurance pays or who's at fault. And that's not always known. I mean, Mr. Downs can clarify that no accident, people come out, oh, well, that was my fault and I'm responsible. It's always going to be an issue. Who's responsible for the costs involved in this? And I just think it's the wrong way to do it. I also had some specific questions, like, for instance, the exhibit to the contract that we're incorporating by reference into the ordinance is different than the exhibit that we have that goes through mitigation rates. The amounts are the same, but then there are categories in the exhibit to the agreement that the fire department is entering into that are different. Like there is recovery for water events and fires, just any kind of structure fire. So that needs to be.
Right, and we pulled those out of your ordinance
But
because we're not charging for those.
But the agreement that you're entering into with them says that those things are.
And we are allowed to change that agreement, and it will be based off of what you approve in the ordinance. So as far as structure fires, we will not bill for any structure fire, whether it's residential or commercial. And we do not bill for EMS services. We give those for free. The only thing we were trying to make some money on was vehicle accidents, help us pay for equipment upgrades, stuff like that.
How did you come up with the amounts, respectfully, that?
So, and they brought it up. They have people that figure out what the cost of our equipment is, because you folks just bought a $600,000 engine. They average employee costs. They average hoses, nozzles, all the equipment that we would carry on our engine that you folks have bought for us. And then they take that price and they say, okay, on an auto accident, this is what it's gonna cost for that engine to run out there and do their job. And so that's where all those costs are accumulating, and it was in that packet that I gave you initially.
I saw that. I didn't know whether that was something that was specific to Trinidad or whether.
No, it's an average across the nation.
Okay. I think there will be questions. I think there will be problems. I think there are a lot of people in this community who don't have insurance at all. So are we going to be billing them into bankruptcy because they can't pay for the costs involved in an accident? Who's going to make those decisions? Is it going to be a decision of the fire department or the city attorney?
So
or we're going to pursue people, or what will it be?
we're hiring this company to do our collections, issue the bill and collect the money. So that would be on them. It was decided that we would bill everybody, not just people with insurance, because that's kind of discriminatory, right? That's kind of how we had it set up. And as far as your Better Business Bureau comment, these folks have been in business since 2006. There's 7 complaints on the website and 5 comments, but they have answered each one of those complaints and comments. And these folks do business with 1,800 fire departments in 43 states. And they've been in business for what, 2006, that's what, 18 years?
I don't think it's the way that we as a society should assign cost involved in accidents. I don't want people sitting in their house and going, or sitting in their car if they're in an accident, should I call? Because what if I can't afford whatever the bill is gonna be from the fire department?
We hear that a lot on EMS calls. My thought is, the city's hurting for money. We evidently can't fund a lot of things. And so, we bring wildland money in. My guys were gone for 6 weeks. We brought $140,000 back to the city that we travel across the United States putting out fires with. So this was just another option. And it's totally up to you whether we enact this or not. I don't know what this is gonna generate. 20,000 maybe? I don't know.
Nobody does.
Right. It's never been done.
I just think it's gonna leave a bad taste in
Then
people's
then
mouth.
I think if we don't do this, then you folks need to figure out how to fund emergency services completely.
I agree, and that's what I'm saying. I think this is a larger question for all of our public safety, not only fire, police, animal shelter, all of this. We've got to consider whether or not we need to have a mill levy or something that is specifically designed to adequately fund the work that you do, which is incredibly important and incredibly valuable. I just don't like this way.
And that's fine. Your fire department right now is an ISO 3, and we're planning on being an ISO 2 next year, which again saves our taxpayer money. You have a good fire department. You got a good police department. You just got to figure out how to fund it.
I totally agree. I had one other technical question that I just wanted to bring up. There's nothing in their agreement either that where they're representing that the work that they do in collection will be in conformance with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or that they'll indemnify us when they violate it if they do. There's nothing in there about that. That makes me very uncomfortable because it's quite easy to do that. And I don't want people coming after the city for the things that they do.
And Mr. Downs reviewed that contract. Did you see anything that, because that's way above my pay grade
Well,
there.
there's not an indemnification provision, I think that's absolutely correct.
Not on that, there is an indemnification, but it's for negligent and willful acts.
Right.
So I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't know what they do when they do debt collection,
Okay.
and it's important to do that right. So those are my concerns.
Okay, did I answer all your questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Eli, do you have any questions?
No, I just wanted to ask you, David, in the future, let's say the allocation money is pretty minimal. One of the questions was answered, but like the services rendered with EMS calls, in the future, will that ever change?
If the city ever decides they want to start transporting patients and the citizens decide they want us to do that for them, we could possibly charge, but because we do not transport patients, we do not charge. And right now, the ambulance district is providing all of our disposable supplies. So the time that they decide they don't want to provide our disposable supplies and we start sending a bill for that to our patients, we would have to charge for that. But transport is where you're able to bill your patient the most money.
Okay, that's all I have.
That's what I wanted to share over there. Just for curiosity, you were talking about billing them for auto accident. What, do you have any idea what an average cost would be?
Their average cost is $602 for one accident, $602. And that's just for showing up, cleaning up debris, taking care of a little bit of hazmat, not a lot of hazmat. If we have antifreeze, oil, transmission fluid, anything like that, and we require a lot of absorbent, then that cost would go up, of course.
And right now, we're not charging for any of that.
No, sir. No.
That's all, I was just kind of curious what the actual cost would be there.
On our bigger hazmats, we can bill for that, but on the small little ones, we've never billed, and I don't, you know, I thought this was an opportunity to kind of recoup some of those costs.
Mr. Trejo?
I do agree with the last statement that Councilwoman Ogletree had said. And I do think we need to look into mills eventually for our public safety, and like in the future when we get to that point, because the cost is going to keep escalating and escalating. So I really think that we're going to have to do that. In an ideal world, I've thought about this over and over. I wish I don't know, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but could we do this in-house? Is there a way that somehow could we do our own billing,
So
insurance to cut out the middleman?
us, the fire department, we don't have enough staff to get in the billing business. And I think all of our people are overworked as it is. So I don't want to throw this on our staff downstairs to try and bill this.
Okay. And yeah, because it's looking at the percentages, you know, that we'd be bringing in. If this is a way to go, it's just such a hard time right now to figure out, you know, we're losing money handlers.
And I get Councilman Ogletree's thing. I mean, people pay taxes, right, for this service, and then we're gonna turn around and bill them for it, but let's use the ambulance district. You pay property taxes to the ambulance district, and then when they transport you to the hospital, they bill you. So I don't see, you see
Which
what I'm
is
saying?
generally covered by health insurance.
Or Medicaid or Medicare, right? I mean, you're only getting probably about 30 cents on the dollar for Medicare and Medicaid, but you're getting something in return for doing that job.
Now, one other question. So if we see this isn't lucrative, if you see this isn't lucrative, because it starts going through, we're not bringing things, do we have, are we tight? Like, how tight are we?
We can cancel this contract if we don't like what's happening in 30 days.
Oh,
That was one thing I did like about it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that I did not.
All it takes is written, we're gonna cancel
I may
our
have missed that in there, I'm
contract.
sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other question, because it's like, try it and see what happens and see how it starts working.
And again, that's up to you folks, what you wanna do here. And again, I think it's gonna be very minimal money to start off with. I don't think we're gonna get rich off of this thing.
but it'll still trickle in income, so, thank you, sir.
Thanks for your service.
I'm just doing a job, but
No, right. You're doing a good job.
I feel your
Good.
thank you, but
Trucks look good. You guys look good. Putting out fires. We're gonna take your advice and look at this company that you have put up before us, because it's not on you. It's really on us to figure out how to put some money in you guys' pockets. So.
and it's not in our pockets, it all goes
Well,
into the
you know,
general fund.
To the general fund.
Right, we put it back in the
So,
general fund and,
Like Ms. Ogletree, she's dotting the i's and crossing the t's and making sure that nothing gets messed
and I
up.
appreciate that
Yeah, so
very much. You don't know how much I appreciate that.
I understand it's on our end. You're just presenting
Right.
the data, so
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief, thanks for being here tonight. I do want to say, for the public record, and I think it's important to notice, it shows a lot of devotion on your end to the job that you do and the service you perform for the city of Trinidad and all the people that live here, so thank you. I mean, I sincerely doubt, you could line up 10 fire chiefs. For every 10 fire chiefs you line up, I don't think, I guarantee it's under 10% of them that are looking for funding mechanisms for their own department. So thank you for the devotion you showed to your cause there. You mentioned that we are moving from ISO 3 to ISO 2, anticipating that next year potentially?
Yeah, hopefully by the end of the year, because there's a lot of paperwork I gotta submit and they gotta review, but hopefully by the end of 2025, we will be there.
So the question I had, and it's not to the obvious end, but all things being equal, nothing changing, i.e. pretend this was not on the table, will that prevent us from moving to ISO 2?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all,
Okay.
not at all. This is just something that I've been kicking around because the fire department is a big insurance policy.
Right.
That's what you're paying for.
Mhm.
We don't really bring revenue in except on wildland fires. And so I was trying to find a revenue generating program besides wildland.
No, and we all genuinely appreciate that. So you mentioned that the amount of revenue that we collect is, as of yet, is unknown. So if we postpone for some amount of weeks, more likely months, to make this decision, it's not as if we can factor or calculate the money that we're missing. And also, and I want to be sure I understood this right, hypothetically, if say a large transport of hazmat was going through town on the overpass and your team had to respond to that and spent an inordinate amount of money, we would be able to collect for that.
We would, and I have an agreement with State Patrol Hazmat that I will bring them in and they will do our billing and they will reimburse us for whatever materials we used for that incident.
Thank you for the diligence there as well. So my point is, for any major expenditure, due to your diligence, we have some coverage for that, and I think that's good. So we're really talking about smaller amounts of money, and obviously, we can't be picky. We have to look at all amounts of money. You eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Right.
But I think with the indemnification concerns that were brought up, I think it would show wisdom and discretion to potentially postpone the decision until we can, make sure all of those situations are in place. But that doesn't mean it's less valuable of a suggestion. That's my input there.
So, Mr. Downs, before I get to Chief, do you have any issues with that contract, legal issue?
I don't have issues with the contract. I think the indemnification provision could be, language could be added, but I think this was it's more of a policy consideration, right? Whether or not you want to do this on behalf of the fire department or the fire chief's request. But with modifications to the indemnification provision, if you decide that is what you would like to do, the contract does not bother me. Right, I mean, it's fine, I think it accomplishes what you would be seeking to accomplish if that's the direction you wanted to go in.
So for us lay people, what does indemnification, what does that do to a contract?
It means hold harmless. I mean, an indemnification provision means that you will be indemnified, or you will be protected from that category of causes of action. And so it does, I mean, Councilman Ogletree is absolutely correct. It is for intentional torts, willful or wanton misconduct, and it's not the kind of thing that we're necessarily protected against for a, for let's say, misconduct that may happen in this field. It's more, it's narrower than that. It's not a really broad indemnification provision.
Okay, so give me an idea of how could the city be liable for something like that?
I would say for bad collection practices.
But the city's not doing it.
I understand, but an indemnification provision would provide that if they did anything wrong, we would be protected. We would be walled off
Okay.
from that category of their misdoings. I'm not sure that's a word, misdoing.
No, I understand.
But their wrong behavior.
I should know what that is, but I don't, so.
I understand.
I apologize. I would like to see that. I mean, I think that would be due diligence on our part to see if we can get that clause in that contract. But, I don't have the concerns that Ms. Ogletree has as far as services that the city provides, because I see it, people that are taxed, people that pay for our roads, that pay for insurance, that pay their license plates on their cars, aren't always the people that we serve in this situation either. So there's people that are visitors in this community that cause our services to be used and somewhat diminished, and we don't have the ability to get that money back for their use of our property and our communities. So, that doesn't bother me. The indemnification, lack of that clause does bother me, because the city of Trinidad needs to be 100% protected from any kind.
I agree 100%. So,
But I don't, when you mentioned that example of the ambulance district, you were spot on with that, and there's a lot of people that use the services of the police department, of the fire department, that don't own property here. They don't contribute to the revenue here, but they use our services. So that there is a means that we can get our money back for those individuals that don't contribute to this community. So what's next? Can we table it until we get an indemnification clause in this contract? I mean, do you have, when you said we have an opt-out clause after 30 days?
yes, ma'am.
So what happens if we go past like 2 months? Because I don't.
Well, we haven't
think
signed anything with this
No,
company.
but I mean, so
It's
can
with,
you?
it's with 30 days notice, I believe.
Oh,
Right,
okay,
yeah.
okay. All right, I misunderstood you.
So it's at any point, right?
Excuse me?
It's at any point in the future?
It's at any point. Yep, it was in that paperwork.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a?
May I call for a point of clarification, please? So what I'm looking at, just reading what the ordinance is, we're not approving the contract tonight. This is just the ability for you to look for a contract.
It's for us to go into contract with this company. They need an ordinance from you saying, yes, the Trinidad Fire Department can go into a contract with.
Okay, because the way this is reading, it's not saying, it's designating a person, a company, it's designating to allow you to go and look for a contract.
No, it says it.
Section
This
one
one?
of
It's
the-
with Fire
It's down here.
Recovery USA.
Okay.
It's in the ordinance itself.
Yeah.
It
Oh, okay.
specifically lists
With that?
Fire Recovery USA LLC.
Oh, that's been clarified, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd just like to add, when I came back 2-ish months ago, a little more, anyway, first thing on the agenda and when I left, the city manager is, here's the fee schedule. Council wants us to look at fees for where we can
Right.
generate income. Chief was one of the first to step forward and come forward with this. We had a work session, we talked about it. We went through all that. The other one was our parks. And it was kind of met with some resistance, and like this one. I understand the concerns, but I know, and you may do what you want, you may table it so we can get further clarification, but it just feels like, okay, we're gonna try and find these ways to get fees to generate income for people using the city services, free of charge. I just want to say I appreciate the chief being one of the
Yes, sir.
first to step up.
Thank you.
And thank him for his work, and hopefully we can come to some kind of consensus on how to move forward with some of these fees.
Just wanted to respond briefly to that those other fees are optional things that people decide whether or not they want to use that service and they pay that fee. This is not optional. People generally don't intend to get into traffic accidents and they don't intend to have, major medical issues that require more than a minimum emergency response. So I just think it's a different situation, and I think it should be more broadly funded so that we can all put our heads on our pillows at night and rest and say, we've taken care of that. We've taken care of the people and the equipment that we need to have a safe community. We don't need to nickel and dime people who accidentally have damages. And I don't think that's the way to go.
One thing I would like to add, and that is, if you want me to negotiate for additional language in the indemnification provision, you should not approve, right? I mean, then negotiations are ongoing, and you don't want to say, okay, we approve this. Oh, by the way, we'd like to make a change to that provision. Just.
Okay.
May I ask two questions?
Yes, sir.
To overdrive the nail, we are specifically talking about, and there will not be any other types of charges than for vehicle accidents.
So you have motor vehicle accidents, extrication, if we have to do extrication. If we have to set up a landing zone that's not at the hospital, we would charge those folks for that. And then hazmat and illegal fires.
So then, my next question is, and I know we should have some insurance expertise available at some level. If the drivers involved are insured, one or both parties, is that something that would be covered by insurance?
Yes, and it's against the law not to have insurance in Colorado.
Right. So, I mean, I appreciate your concerns. I definitely do. I do think it's a fair point to expect people utilizing a service to pay for the service. I think when we have taxes at an overall level, that is to build the infrastructure, for the common good of all those involved, but the services themselves impact charges that sometimes can be above and beyond that, I would think. I do think that it's a fantastic idea, but I would like to see the indemnification and then just clarification if it's covered by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I think that it should be. That's two things that I'd like to see before we proceeded. But I appreciate you.
You bet. Got any more questions?
Not me, sir.
Thank you.
That's enough.
Thank you, Chief.
That was fun.
Okay, the hearing is now closed. I need a motion to table, continue, or just abolish.
I'd like to make a motion to table for future discussion, item 7A.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Then point of clarification, Mr. Downs, item 7I is not necessary, correct? Because we tabled the,
That's correct.
Alright.
That's correct.
thank you. Item 8, unfinished business, we have none. Item 9A, consideration of the request for bid submitted by Cedar Ridge Landscape Incorporated for the curb cuts and sidewalk Phase 5 Project 17-2024.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This project is part of the DOJ agreement that we basically are being handed down, but I'm told that these particular corners need to be repaired. We received 2 bids from the project, Performance Builders and Roofing and Cedar Ridge Landscaping, who was the low bidder at $66,075. So like I said, this is a requirement from the Department of Justice, part of the original lawsuit that we were under. So things going all correct will be done with this lawsuit by September of 25. We have one other project to complete, which is the intersection at Cedar and Nevada, the crossing there. It's under design right now. It's another requirement from the Department of Justice. So we're slowly chipping away at these, and with your approval tonight, we'd like to give notice of award to Cedar Ridge Landscaping. Questions?
So what do you have?
Only that it's so significantly less. Do you have any concern that Cedar Ridge is going to be able to do this?
I think so. What Performance Builders relayed to us, they're doing Phase 3 right now, and it would have been a real undertaking for them to do this, so they bid the project high. So that, I think, we looked at their numbers, and they're all they're all completely understandable and within our what we're used to seeing prices bid at.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Sure.
Eli, do you have any questions?
No.
Frank?
No.
No questions. Thanks, Bob.
Bob, I appreciate the work you put into it, outlining it and just keeping the bids fair and competitive. It takes a lot of effort to wrangle those things. I did have a question. I forget what it was called, but the suite of engineers that you've had on retainer, for lack of a better word. Is that been helpful in this pursuit of this in any fashion, or has it yet?
We haven't utilized one of the engineers it's our on-call engineers. We asked for on-call services for the skate park, and their price was pretty excessive, so we decided to basically we're not going to go down that road. And then we did receive we asked for also on-call services for we did not. I was thinking for the pickleball courts. We put out a request for proposal for the geotechnical services on that. And one of the engineers was on the list, but their bid was, they didn't give us a fee. They must be busy.
Okay. And then just, you know, people have, this is questions for Les, but I appreciate it. You know, people have brought up recently with me, just recently, the judgment that we have, and there's a lot of misconception in the public forum as to how Trinidad arrived at that judgment. Les, obviously without naming, you know, names of who caused it and what, can you give a brief overview as to the path that brought Trinidad to this point?
I think I can, and I will say there was litigation with respect to specific allegations of ADA violations against the city. There were some that went as high as asking for a writ of cert from the U.S. Supreme Court. But anyway, there was litigation that went up that high. The Department of Justice, and I think that's what you're asking about, the DOJ, there were a number of complaints against the city, and because the ADA is federal legislation, that is what brought us, after these complaints were leveled against the city, brought us into the line of sight of the Department of Justice. And we signed it. You help me, Bob, but we signed an MOU with the DOJ to get in compliance in incremental steps for the violations and getting certainly not every violation taken care of, but doing the best that we could to get in substantial compliance with the ADA.
That is correct.
Does that make sense?
That does.
Okay, good.
I have no further questions.
I don't think I have any questions either. You vetted Cedar Ridge. Have you ever had any work? Have they ever done work for the city before?
Yes, they have. They 2 years ago, they did the crosswalks, or excuse me, the ramps are headed up Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And they did a very good job. They also did the curb and gutter at the water station on Chestnut.
Okay.
So they're very reputable. They're out of Pueblo.
Okay.
And generally their fees are a little bit higher because they're out of Pueblo, but it's just, we caught them at a downtime that they were looking for work, so they sharpened their pencil.
Good. Good deal for us.
Yes.
I need a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the bid for the Cedar Ridge landscaping.
I'll second.
For the sum of $66,075. Just FYI. Second, Mr.
Second.
Trujillo. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 9B.
Excuse me, Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, there was a statement made earlier about the handicap accessibility at Central Park, and I'd like to set that straight.
Yes, sir.
Because that statement was clear and utterly false. That park had ADA parking before we even started the project. Walsburg Sand and Gravel came in, my predecessor, Mr. Beach, had them in there, and they brought 3 spots into ADA compliance. We're adding 2 additional spots, but just wanted to make it straight that park does have ADA parking.
Thank you, Mr. Just. I
Thank you.
appreciate the clarification. Item 9B. First reading of an ordinance appropriating certain sums of money out of the revenues of the city of Trinidad, Colorado to defray and meet the liabilities of the city of Trinidad for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025. Said ordinance being termed the annual appropriation bill for the 2025 fiscal fiscal year and setting a public hearing on December 17th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I need someone to introduce this ordinance.
I'll introduce it.
Okay, Miss Cheryl, it's your turn.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. In your drives, you should have received the 2025 draft. This is the first reading. I apologize, in the draft, I didn't change the mayor's name on the ordinance, and the mayor caught it, so. Yeah. Anyway, we've adjusted that. It's been corrected in your drive. This ordinance is to appropriate $88,040,583 for fiscal year 2025. This is a $5 million increase over fiscal year 2024. The changes in the budget include a $2.4 million decrease to the general fund, $3.9 million increase to power and light fund, $2.9 million increase to the water fund, and some smaller changes of $42,000 decrease to the the gas fund, a $368,000 increase to sewer fund, $367,000 increase to the capital projects fund, $14.5 thousand to the lottery fund, and $106,000 decrease to the tourism fund. I have some highlights if you'd like to go over those this evening. Okay, and I'd like to start with the utility funds first. Power and light fund, the revenues are budgeted with a 7.5% increase on commercial rates and a 4% increase on residential rates. The expense has been increased to $3.9 million, and that includes $4.2 million in a 4160 project and substation upgrade with a $4 million potential grant revenue in grant. Overall, all of the funds, there have been no salary increases except for the police department, which negotiated a class and comp agreement last year. Therefore, every other fund does not have any salary or any salary increase except for the 8.5% benefit increase on health insurance across the board. The water fund has budgeted a 3% increase on commercial and residential rates. Their expenditures have increased by $2.9 million, and this is for the $4.3 million budgeted in the water tank rehab project and $1.7 million for the water main project. And there's a few smaller projects scheduled for capital outlay. We do anticipate $3.2 million in the water main project. That includes our the Hickenlooper grant. And then we also are anticipating $3.3 million in state revolving loan fund funding. And finally, a $1 million grant funding from DOLA for the water tank rehab, along with the ARPA funds that were committed to the water fund for the water tank rehab project, and those funds have to be obligated by December 31st. Our gas fund budgeted for a 2.5% increase on the delivery charge for both commercial and residential rates. Their major capital project anticipated is $600,000 for the north side city gate station, and then $120,000 for pipeline replacement on High Street, LEA, and Van Buren. Sewer fund, major capital outlay is budgeted at $800,000 for a jet vac, and that would include a $100,000 down payment and financing the rest through a tax exempt lease. Sewer fund also is recognizing a revenue increase of 3% across the board on commercial and residential rates. Finally, lottery fund, we have rebudgeted the skate park renovations at $123,000. And tourism fund, does show an increase based on the voters' approval of going from 3% to 6% on lodging tax rates. However, the fund has decreased its expenditures by $106,000. If you recall, we used a lot of reserves to start setting up the space to create building to turn it into a convention type center, stage, the tables, the chairs, all the type of equipment to get it to that place. Okay, on to general fund. So general fund is budgeted at $1.7 million over expenditures. Over revenue. This includes $1.1 million in committed funds that we already have set aside. So $700,000 is for the Riverwalk Fund, and $468,000 is for the other fire department apparatus, which we hope to take delivery of in 2025. So funds have been set aside for those two projects, which leaves us with a gap of $571,901. So we have been looking at this for several weeks, feels like several years. Trying to figure out how to balance the budget.
Thank you.
And yesterday, I believe, City Manager Valentine received a call from Councilman Trujillo recommending moving the $180,000.
His head's getting bigger.
Moving the $180,000 that was appropriated in fiscal year 2022 for the skate park back into the general fund because that project hasn't come to fruition. So I thought about it all night last night, and I don't see why there wouldn't be a reason that we could move it back, because there is more than enough funding in the capital fund to handle the skate park project. Even if it comes in at $500,000, there's funding available for it. So, or excuse me, let me see. Pickleball, my fault. Pickleball. Wow. I kept saying that. Anyway, so with a transfer back from capital fund for the marijuana funds that were originally transferred to capital fund of $180,000, that's starting to move us in the correct direction. The capital fund, we are asking for some discretionary funds as staff for those projects that come up throughout the year that council hasn't appropriated funding for. So items other than ADA ramps and Garfield project and pickleball, some funds that staff is able to use, for example, $25,000 for the fertilizer for the golf course and $150,000 to continue the sidewalk project, which is actually part of the strategic plan. So little projects, we're asking for some discretionary funds, but also to cover the next items on the list, which include municipal buildings HVAC contract, which we were paying out of the capital fund. We want to move it back into the capital fund. That skewed us by $70,000 to the wrong in general fund. And then curb paint and stop signs and everything that we used to provide maintenance on the local streets. Asphalt and gravel and snow removal. Because the capital fund, when reapproved by the voters, it includes maintenance for public works. Okay. Another item that we could possibly move over would be the salary for our outdoor rec coordinator, salary and fringe, and then also the horticulture program, because those both fall under the tourism or the lodging tax ordinance that was passed back in April. And finally, we budget 1% of our revenues for contingency. We are suggesting to reduce the contingency to 50% of the 1%. So that drops us down to $73,000. With all of those suggestions, if we move that over, we bring our budget into balance, and we're actually $1,400 to the good, almost $1,500.
with council's considerations, this is a potential way to balance the budget. And that's pretty much all I have on the general fund. Are there any questions?
Questions?
Great job. I did have one question on, I noticed that we have in the budget $1 million for economic development, most of which is for incentives. What incentives are we talking about there?
Those are the Housing Now projects. So, for example, I believe the Rice School or East Street School received, was it $250,000 when they completed their project? So that's the type of funding for that.
Okay.
So all of the Housing Now projects that are up and running, they're, Michael Yearman and Nick Mason are committing those funds to the projects. If you recall, council appropriated $2 million toward this endeavor, and I think we've barely spent maybe $500,000 so far.
Okay, thank you.
No questions, just thank you, Cheryl, for your proficiency and due diligence. This is very good.
Well, it wasn't me, it was actually Audra had some ideas, Mr. Valentine had some ideas, and then never heard the end of it, but Councilman Trujillo had some ideas.
Thank you,
So
everyone.
hopefully this gets us, oh, and the voters actually helped with the lodging tax.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Frank?
Yeah, no questions, good job.
No.
Big head, do you have any?
Nothing, thank you for, I know how much work you put into this, and it really shows. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Councilman.
If we adopt this tonight and Councilman Trujillo has another fantastic idea between now and the end, that can still be implemented, right?
Right, there, okay, again, there will probably be several changes between now and then. Our sales tax is still coming in. Right now, we are reporting with September sales tax, so we don't even know what October's brought. And until we get to the end, we're gonna keep sharpening the revenues and expenses, and there'll be changes, they just won't be very significant.
In all sincerity, thank you to everybody that has worked on this, and it's a team effort, and as you pointed out, even the voters' efforts have been beneficial. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Cheryl. I know you've lost sleep over this, and I just want to clarify that the reason that we had issues with the initial summary of the budget was there's two things that happened in this year that we didn't account for. One was the animal shelter. That's a big one. That's $400,000. Five, okay. That's not a revenue generator, so that's pure expense. And number two is the sales tax collections for the first half of 2024. So it's like we have to make adjustments, and thank you to everybody for finding these adjustments. And, you know, accounting is very tricky, but we're very fortunate to have the people on staff that take care of this budget. It's not from mismanagement. It was from exterior conditions that caused us to have to make these changes. And I so appreciate you, Cheryl, for doing this.
And I'm not finished.
Okay.
The final project, or capital, the final fund is the capital projects fund. And I know that City Manager Valentine sent an email regarding the 4-year CIP plan of $2 million that we probably need to get council back in the saddle and find a few more projects to prioritize.
Okay.
Because some of those projects are intermingled with the actual $5.3 million that you were allocating. For example, ADA compliance. We have $500,000 in the 4-year CIP plan, but we also had it in the $5.3 million that council was working with. Anyway, we just got to get you back to the drawing board so you can continue to appropriate the funding that's available, with the caveat that staff has a little bit of discretionary funds for those projects that come up that are not on your list. For example, if a grant is approved in the middle of the year, we have to have those grant funds available and whatnot. In your budget, under the capital fund, what I did was highlight in green all the 4-year CIP plan items. And on the last page of the capital budget, you'll see the 5.3 in council priorities. So in essence, we just need council to go back to the drawing board and prioritize a few more items for staff.
You know, and I intend to have the next work session, we'll have something for you to look at to prioritize. This is the CIP taxes collected, the 1 cent sales tax. So there's specific ways we could use that, and you know, we'll get based on our strategic plan, council priorities, so we can move forward with those.
All righty. Anything else, Michelle? Okay. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item number 9C, first reading of an ordinance adding Division 13 Natural Medicine Businesses to Chapter 9 licenses to the Trinidad Municipal Code regarding the regulation of natural medicine businesses within the city of Trinidad, Colorado, and setting a public hearing on December 17th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I need someone to introduce.
I'll introduce.
Okay. Mr. Downs, I guess this is your baby, huh?
It is indeed, Mayor and council members. I hope yesterday's session was helpful, kind of to, give you a bit of a picture in terms of what you're doing and why it has to be done. I would like to say, if I could please, that Section 9-91 needs to be amended to say 1,000 feet from a proper use for a school, preschool, or child daycare center. And I would suggest that amendment can be made. I would ask it to be made by interlineation, but it will be made before the second reading of this. And also another amendment that I think we need to have, and that is language essentially that says that the natural medicine businesses are going to be subject to the requirements of obtaining and maintaining a Trinidad City business license. Since we don't really have, control or not jurisdiction, but control of these businesses otherwise, it will be important to have that language in there to make sure that it is specified that they do have to comply with city requirements for a number of points that were brought up yesterday by the fire chief and others that they will have to comply. But with those things being said, any questions of council?
Mr. Williams?
The 1,000-foot radius will apply to all license types then?
It will. Any natural medicine businesses have to be 1,000
Right.
feet from a school, preschool, or daycare. That's correct.
I mean, it's a state mandate.
Right.
I don't have any further questions. It's no
That's
further
it.
questions.
Mr. Thurman?
No questions.
Mr. Teo?
No questions.
Mr. Shu?
Questions?
No, ma'am.
Of course I do. So, all right, so in here you have a couple different ways that you're talking about natural medicine centers, natural medicine healing centers, natural medicine businesses. And I think the idea behind 92, which is a distance of 500 feet between natural medicine centers. I think that has to do with a desire that there are 500 feet between each healing center. But one of the things that the person from, I forget her name now, from the Colorado Department,
Allison Robinette, yes.
that she brought up is that the department is thinking ideally that these things would be co-licensed, so there would be a grow, a license, whatever, all the different things could be in one place. And I think that's the heart of the concern, is that the healing centers are 500 feet apart from each other, not that a grow is 500 feet from every single thing. So I don't think that is worded properly. I would just ask that be distance between natural medicine healing centers.
Okay. Add the word healing.
In 992.
Okay. Is that agreeable with council?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody have objections? Good catch. Okay, I have no questions. It was pretty evident that we're not even players in this. We're just
Right,
here.
right. Exactly, it is state mandated. And, you know, one of my takeaways from yesterday was that, excuse me, the state is really trying to make this medicine. And so what we have thought of historically as a recreational, illegal drug, they are trying to explore the medicinal properties of psilocybin, psilocin, ibogaine, the other two also. They're trying to do that. And really it's, the municipalities are kind of powerless. I mean, all we can do is regulate time, manner, and place considerations.
I really can't see this as something that's gonna catch on.
No.
I mean, you know,
It's hard to fathom.
I've been wrong before about
That's
a
what I
lot of
said
things.
yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, right.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Yeah, it's just the centers, the medication centers and
Still waiting for the state to make more money.
Pardon?
Another way for the Department of Revenue to make more money.
Well, maybe.
And 200 applicants times 3,500, that's
Yeah.
$800,000 a year
Yeah.
just in license fees.
But that's probably gonna be how much it's gonna cost them to operate. They're not gonna make many money.
To regulate it, to inspect and stuff.
Okay.
Let's move on or else we'll have more.
So I need a motion on the ordinance. Do I, clarification, Mr. Downs? We make the motion as amended on the ordinance?
Please.
I need a motion to accept the ordinance with the amended language.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trail?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
No.
Griego?
Yes. Item number 10, reports by city manager and city attorney. Mr. Valentine, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. At your seating, there is a letter, more information letter than anything from County Treasurer's Office, Don Leonetti, regarding a move by the legislature and the governor's office and the property task force. They're trying to help property owners paying their taxes by spreading payments instead of 2 payments in the year. They want to spread it across 12 months. It would be helpful, but think about that from our perspective is how they give us the money. If it comes in monthly, we won't receive our portion of our mill levy taxes like we do now. Like in July, I think July we get a good sum in
February and April.
February and April.
Well,
Yeah, so we get a chunk. That could change, and therefore, some of our items that come due early that we take care of with that, we're gonna have to manage. It's not enacted yet, but that's just an FYI, so, it's good and it's bad. As mentioned, we're gonna have another work session, CIP. And then, just an FYI for council, we had a meeting with adjacent property owners today to LEA, that block, just to go over what's gonna happen, where we're at, make sure they have their input, we have, good information. So that LEA should be going out to bid. Well, it's gonna be delayed a little bit because construction, wintertime is not good, but if we time it and have it out to bid, say February opening, council approval, springtime's coming in, and demo can happen in colder weather and freezing, and then it should play out fairly well and hopefully be done maybe in time for like Santa Fe Trail Days. We hope that's pushing it, but it's going to move forward. There is one gas main that has to be relocated and a water line installed, but the gas main is done by city forces, and that may happen by the end of December, beginning of January. So you'll see that in there. That's not the project, but the gas as they trench in there will do some of the demo that the contractor won't have to. But anyway, and I want to say that those huge planters that are out there, they're solid concrete, rebar. We're going to put a provision in the contract that contractors have to saw cut them into chunks and use a thumb on the backhoe and kind of jiggle them out rather than the jackhammer next to the Columbia, the Opera House, and Balloonas. So we're taking every precaution there on that. So that's all I have. Yes, sir. Oh, no.
Mayor, may I ask a question of Mr. Valentine?
Did somebody else over here have a question?
Oh, thank you,
No.
sorry. Mr. Valentine, at your convenience or where appropriate in an upcoming meeting, would it be possible to have a very quick overview of the Santa Fe Trail?
Sure.
There's been several concerns raised that I think it would be wise to allay those if we can. Specifically, this did not come to light in the meeting tonight, but there's been some public talk of funds needing to be committed by certain dates, and if not, the grant would be lost. And I know that that's something that's first and foremost on city staff's mind in trying to maintain and keep all funding advantages that we have. And I think it'd just be good to say in a public record so that can be publicly available.
Let me, if I may, I'd like to kind of respond to that because
It's your report.
I received a request from Bruce Stodgel from the paper, and all the dates were given tonight that I gave to her. So the grant award was May 15th of 2022. I was still here when we received that grant, and there's a reason that it's delayed. The allocation letter was August 15, 2022. We received an IGA option letter December of 2023. We received a grant agreement March 7th of 2023 with an expiration date of March 6, 2033. Now, yeah, it's 10 years that we have to spend this money. We're not going to do that. I just want to say that I'm pushing forward with trying to get this project off the ground. But what happened in the state level is they were gonna use ARPA funds.
Mm-hmm.
They, back and forth, were tied in with this grant with Levita and Walsenburg, I believe, are also tied in with this grant, and they asked the city, would you like to, can you get this done by the end of this year? All 3 or 4 entities said, no way, we can't do it. So they moved the money. There was a little bit of money that was spent, 70-some thousand, with the grant on ARPA funds. The rest, the state reallocated, and we got another option letter. Oh, shoot, sorry. I want to be correct on the dates because it's been a little roller coaster of a ride. And I know that, we should have had this done, but we finally were able to give a notice to Brazil for the design January 5th, 2024. The engineer, and it was mentioned tonight, has to do environmental, historical, archaeology, wildlife, wetland, hydrology, and hydraulic studies required to do this. He mentioned that we're going to have to buy property all along there. We are not. It's an 80-foot wide right-of-way. We do have to go around a bridge structure and our sewer lift station. That's going to require possibly going into the property that's there at Morris Canyon Arroyo. So we will have to do all that, but all those studies have to be done before we have a kind of an alignment, and I promised the gentleman that I'd get him alignment once we have a little better one. The roadway has been there since, and he mentioned it, it was a state highway back in 1955, back when they had Model Ts or whatever they drove back then. Narrow, no shoulders, nothing. It is the way it is since it was built. The county deeded that road over to us when Eagle Rock was trying to build that subdivision.
That was a real gift there.
Yeah, it's like, thank you for that, we got it deeded, here you can have this road. We've since overlaid it, we've done repairs. It is narrow, it doesn't have much of a shoulder. I understand his concerns. We'd like to move faster, but we have the federal government, the state government, and now all the environmental stuff that we have to work through to spend this $2 million on this. So I have asked engineering to look at the option not to pave the road, but to just put a gravel shoulder in there for safety. And guess what? It's not ADA compliant. So then do we spend that money? The engineers, they had a meeting with them last week or the week before. We should see something here soon on the alignment. So hopefully that helps.
No, thank you, Mr. Valentine. That was helpful. Thank you.
Off the cuff.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I know.
I
just reiterate that all grant funding is secure and not in jeopardy. So
that is correct. Till 2033.
Wow. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
I have a couple questions for you. On that letter that Donna Leonetti wrote us, what can the city do? Can we write a letter? What?
I think we need to just monitor state legislation. Her last paragraph says, please keep this proposal in mind during the upcoming legislative session. And I think our CML should be put on notice to, hey, watch this for us. They may, their lobby may be up or down for this, and if we tell them, they'll go to bat for us.
No, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I think we have a form on that, don't we? We have a form we can submit.
Well, what we'll do is, I'll make sure the chair of the CML board gets a copy of Donna's letter.
Okay. Yep.
I'll make sure it happens. I have another question on LEA. So the property behind where the Main Street Live is,
Mhm.
all that area is in bad condition, but that's private property, correct?
That is correct. It's private property. We do have our gas line that runs through there. That was done in the probably early 80s by Trinidad Tomorrow. That was a whole move back in the 80s, and they did all that work with the brick inlays, the trees and everything. And the trees have pretty much destroyed all the sidewalk in that area. We, two of the property owners were here for the meeting. It was brought up that we would like to, maybe get an easement. Our gas main goes through there. We may have to replace that as well. We'll be tearing it up, and I'm gonna say this out loud, those trees might have to go.
Oh dear.
It's on me, I said it. But they've destroyed that back area, so.
Yeah, they are. They're a nuisance with those things that come off.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I really don't have a report. I just wanted to mention I sent you an email this morning on the survey from the Legal Resource Day. And it was a very well-received event.
Very
It was a wonderful event. So thanks to the city for letting us use the space to create for a day. It was a very good event.
Well,
And very popular.
the stats showed that you were the hardest working attorney.
Well,
What can you say?
And I
either
heard
that or something else.
you're easy to talk to, maybe.
Yeah, that's
And I
right.
got it
That's
from a
right.
good source that you really worked that day.
That's very nice of you. Thank you.
And
Mayor.
I
It was a lot of fun.
appreciate personally what you do, Mr. Downs.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, that was pretty, nothing else.
No.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is adjournment before Frank leaves. Do I have I need a motion? Second. Call the vote.
Bono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Thank you all so very much. Truly appreciate it. I think everybody owes Cheryl a drink.
And then.
And, we're just feeding men.